I was born and raised here in Washington. I actually grew up. My grandma, when she was 6, she inherited a house just a block away from the Woodland Park Zoo.
Oh, nice.
When I was born, I lived there until I was 3.
Finney Ridge.
Fremont.
Oh, Fremont.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
yeah.
On the other side. Gotcha.
So I would be out in the front yard and I would hear the howler monkeys, And then me and my mom moved to Lake Forest Park with my grandma. And then from there, we went to Bellevue, and I grew up in Bellevue, but been born and raised here ever since. My mom was adopted from Korea. She came to the U.S. when she was 6, and then I don't know much. We don't know much about her history and her lineage, and so as far as we know, a bloodline kind of stops with her.
Oh, gotcha.
And then my dad is Filipino and Caucasian. I have a big family in the Philippines.
Have you met them? Any of them?
Yes, my grandpa,
nice.
and the kids that he has here.
Yeah.
I haven't met any of my family in the Philippines, but I was getting random friend requests from other people that had my last name, and I asked my dad, and I said, "Am I related to them?" He goes, "It is a one family name, and anybody that has that last name, we are related to."
Have you ever taken those like 23andMe or Ancestry.com like DNA things?
Not yet. I want to, but at the same time, I don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they have. It's interesting because like when you take them, they have a warning.
Really?
Because it's like people find out all kinds of things.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
You're not my real dad, kind of stuff.
Right.
But
Right.
What's your? I'm curious.
Well, from what we know, my mom she could not be full Korean because she was born right after the Korean War, and it was at the time when there was a lot of homeless toddlers walking around the streets. People would abandon their toddlers, and they would kind of turn their nose when they would see them. But somebody found my mom, took her to an orphanage, and or like a holding place, and then from that place they took her to the orphanage, and there are no records of any of her history. And so, but I kind of believe that she is full Korean because like in Asia, it's having a child out of wedlock is dishonorable. They don't want to bring dishonor to their family, and so they would abandon children, and so it's harsh, but that's their culture,
Yeah.
And one thing I did find out recently is that I am the first generation Asian American. So yeah. So being of Asian descent, but being born here in the U.S.
Right.
There's not a lot of us.
Yeah. Any siblings?
Yes, I have with my dad, I have a half sister and a half brother.
Oh, gotcha.
But I'm the oldest.
Oh, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
And so growing up, it was with your mom and dad?
Mom and stepdad.
Mom and stepdad.
Yeah. My parents were really young.
And biological dad?
What's that?
And your biological dad, is he in the picture anywhere?
He was. So my mom and my biological dad, they were very young when they had me. My dad was 16 and my mom was 19.
Oh yeah.
But my dad turned 17 the day after. So, and they were only together for about 3 years.
Oh, gotcha.
I mean, my dad was a kid. So.
Yeah.
But what was really interesting is that I grew up going to the McDonald's just right down there. And then the Fred Meyer up on 85th, and even the Safeway on Market Street.
Oh, right. Yeah, so it's a very familiar area for you.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about high school. What's happening in high school in your life?
So, when I went to high school, it was in Bellevue. Mm-hmm. I went to elementary school in Bellevue, like elementary school, middle school, and high school. But I didn't really have an easy time in high school, or in school in general. I had a really hard time fitting in. Unfortunately, my mom, when she was adopted into my grandma's family, she had an older sister, and who would pick on my mom. It was pretty racially cruel to her. And so my mom had this belief where you can't be pretty if you're not white. And so I was raised to believe that Asian women aren't pretty.
Wow.
that only white people are pretty. You know what I mean? So that took me a long time to really be proud of being, Asian, and to understand that beauty isn't just, it's not a racial thing. But what was really interesting is that the kids I went to school with, they treated me like that though, So I always stuck out. Like recess was really hard for me. I would try to play with the kids, and they would just let me come join, but they would just kind of ignore me,
Yeah, it sounds very lonely.
Yeah, I was a very lonely kid. Very isolated, very sheltered. It was so much so, like, I couldn't go and do things with my friends unless I had good grades, and school was really hard for me, just the way they taught me. But if I didn't have good grades, I couldn't go do things with my friends, couldn't have friends over, and so I was always home alone by myself. I was a latchkey kid.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, my parents were busy coaching soccer, and my stepdad, he was a carpet cleaner. I played soccer. Like, soccer was a really big thing with my family.
That's your thing, right? Gotcha.
But that wasn't my sport. Like, I'm a good soccer player, but it's just, I didn't like it. It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of the times I would be home alone after school till about 6 o'clock.
Wow.
But I had these neighbors that came, that moved in shortly after I did, and they were from Japan, and they were like my little sisters, Yeah. And we would play every day, and that was kind of like my second family, and they actually took me to Japan with them.
Oh yeah, so you guys got really close.
Yes, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. We would fight like sisters, we loved each other like sisters. And I got to kind of understand the Japanese language, because I would ask them to ask their dad a question, and so he would respond, and I would say, oh, he said this, this, and this, and he'd say, how do you know?
You really started to comprehend?
Yeah.
Oh, incredible.
Not really speak it, but understand it,
understand it. Right,
yeah.
Right.
But I do really want to go to Korea. I want to go to the Philippines, but I do want to go back to Japan. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
The culture out there is very respectful. I was riding my bike, and I was going really fast down the hill, and I almost ran into this guy's dog and into him, and he was more worried about saying sorry to me.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
You're in high school?
Yeah, I was 16. I was a junior in high school. Yeah.
That's an incredible opportunity.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, what an amazing invitation from your neighbors to be like.
Yeah.
And your parents let you go.
Yeah, I was floored. I was like, Mom, can I go to Japan with my neighbors? And she's like, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, after excuse me, after high school, where does life take you?
So after high school, there was this camp called Miracle Ranch. Horses were my passion. I love horses, and they still are.
Growing up?
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
So I took horseback riding lessons off and on, but there was the summer camp called Miracle Ranch through Christian camps. It's a Christian camp, but I was a camper there through elementary school up until high school, and then I started working there during the summers.
Well, that leads me to a question: was Christianity like part of integrated within your family?
Just between me and my grandma.
Okay.
My mom got really turned off by the religion, but I was really close with my grandma. I used to go over to her house every weekend, and we would go to church at UPC in the U District. And then I tried to do the church thing, and I actually went to Mars Hill when it was right there, yeah. And it was a great church. I loved it. I felt like I fit in, but suddenly after his church went down and I tried to go to other churches, I just didn't fit in.
Yeah.
And with the religion thing, I've learned a lot of different things. I have different memories coming up, past memories, and I've always kind of felt like I've had an old soul, I never got along with people that were my age from a kid.
You just were always gravitated towards older people.
Yeah, or younger.
Okay, gotcha.
But I could hold conversations with adults when I was a child. But I just always thought it was because I was an only child, you know, and I was around adults more.
What years did you go to Marcel over here?
Oh, shoot. I want to say between 2006 and maybe 2010.
And how old were you around?
I was 17 till maybe 22.
And living in Bellevue?
No,
Or you moved?
when at the time, because the camp that I was working at was in Gig Harbor.
Okay.
And so we would come from Gig Harbor to go to Mars Hill here, yeah. And so when I graduated high school, I worked with the horses at the camp, and I got, hired on as a barn intern during the winter season. But things were starting to kind of change for me at that point. I kind of rebelling, kind of just wanting to do my own thing. I had a boyfriend at the time. They provided housing for me, but I was also over at his house. And it's a Christian community, so, I had to set a good example.
Follow the rules.
Yeah, but so I ended up getting fired from there. It was pretty devastating. But then, and I moved in with my ex-boyfriend, and it was hard for me to find a job. And I also didn't want to live a sheltered life anymore, I wanted to party. I wanted to go out and have fun and do different things. And my ex-boyfriend at the time was 16 and I was 18, and, it was very sheltered over there. Everybody was so far away. And so I came back to Seattle, and I moved in with my grandma. And that was a little too unstructured, and she kind of just let me do whatever I wanted, going to the clubs, going out late, crashing my car, drinking, at 18 years old, 19 years old maybe. And then, so moved back home with my parents, and I got a job at KinderCare in Kirkland, worked there for a little while, and then I got a best friend, and I would go over to her apartment every day after work, and that's where I met my ex-boyfriend. He's deceased now, but he's the one that introduced me into the drug world. So.
And before this, you weren't. Did you experiment with any drugs or just alcohol, kind of?
Just alcohol and marijuana. He had a previous issue with OxyContin, because this was back when OxyContin was around, and all my friends at the time in the group, was like, just be careful. He's had a problem with OxyContin in the past, and I didn't know anything about addiction. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand what it, what recovery is and how hard to work on it, and so when he and I got together, he had a job in Renton, so we moved from Kirkland down to Renton, and that's when he relapsed on OxyContin and introduced it to me, and but he was already pretty progressed in his addiction, so I went from smoking OxyContin to shooting up heroin in about 6 months. Yeah, and and I remember using and just not understanding, why is it so bad? Why is everybody what's the deal? And a lot of it was just, I didn't know how to cope through life. It's very interesting, I didn't know anything about it, and it just kind of took me by surprise, And when I was doing heroin, I was actually downtown, living in Nicholsville. I'm sure you've heard of that. And then I went to the Union Gospel Mission in 2008 to 2010.
And why did you go there?
To get clean.
But something in you was like, I need help.
Yes. And so I did the program there, and I actually got pregnant with my oldest daughter. But my ex, the one that's deceased, he was not ready to get clean. And I was kind of like hell bent on not having a family that was split apart. And so I chose to stay with him, even though he relapsed. He relapsed when I was 8 months pregnant with our daughter. And when I moved out of Hope Place, I relapsed. And when our daughter was 6 months old in 2010, my mom took her, and she has my older 2 kids. Yeah.
So how many kids? 3?
I have 3.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then I have she just turned 3. She's in foster care. But it's a struggle. I miss her a lot. I went to treatment last spring in Spokane, and graduated early, and came back here, and there was a snafu, and they took her, and then so
snafu, I'm putting together from my perspective. When somebody's recovering, relapse can be part of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So when you say snafu, there's like a little
a relapse,
little stumble.
Yeah, but it was such a weird allegation, because it was something that it stemmed from treatment, but basically I wasn't supposed to come back to Seattle. I had to stay in Snohomish County, even though I had nowhere to go. And the father of my kid has an apartment up at Toft Terrace, and it was like CPS would have rather me hotel hop, pay for a hotel and take me and a 3-year-old and all of our stuff from hotel to hotel until I got housing.
And so those parameters, like who puts those in place?
CPS.
Oh, they do. They say, okay,
DCYF,
if you want your child, you can't come back to Seattle.
Yeah.
Seattle's a big place.
Well, it's not that I couldn't go back to Seattle. It's just I couldn't go back to her dad's house.
Oh, gotcha.
That we weren't supposed to parent together for some reason.
Okay.
But it's just DCYF is such a broken system. They take kids from those who love their kids, and yes, even though I am an addict, she still was well taken care of. I interacted with her. I made sure she was fed. And, I was very safe and very careful. And then there's people that are very not safe, they'll have kids to keep a man around, or you know what I mean? And then when the one parent leaves, they'll tell lies to their kids about the other parent, and parent coercion, incest, like stuff like that, but they can still keep their kids.
Yeah, it sounds really messy, and I have kids.
Yeah.
And I've told people this, like, I couldn't imagine being away from my girls.
Yeah.
That would wreck me.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know how I'd cope with that.
Yeah, it's really hard, and like, sorry.
Don't be sorry, it's fine.
She's happy, she's thriving, and I'm the first one, like, if my kids, if I'm a danger to my kids, I will remove myself and find a safe place for them, like, I would do that in a heartbeat. I did that with my older 2. But with my youngest, I was doing really well with her, Yeah, there was some drug use, but she was well taken care of. She was not neglected. She was, well-rounded. We would take her places, and, we were happy. And it's just like, just the whole drug use and addiction is so demonized, you know what I mean? And it's like they think that just because people use, they can't parent. And it's like, actually, there's more people that don't use that are very bad to their children,
Yeah.
And they still get to keep their kids.
Yeah.
It's very confusing. It's very rough, and it's very it doesn't feel fair.
I guess it doesn't feel fair and doesn't feel good. It's just like, again, now you have another kind of giant piece of suffering and pain and shame to like deal with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the CPS comes and they take your child
into
foster care.
Yeah, and what was even more baffling is when they came to remove her, no paperwork, no nothing. And they came into the apartment complex, and they had, their badges, which is just a piece of paper laminated, and they said that she had tested positive for benzos, so a drug that wasn't even in the house. You know what I mean? So they came with the wrong drug, wrong allegation, no paperwork, nothing. Just, we're here to come pick her up, and it would be easier on her that you what is that word? You hand her over now, or law enforcement will remove her, and it's going to be easier if you just hand her, give her up right now versus have law enforcement remove her. So,
how long ago was this?
This was last December.
Yeah, about a year ago.
Yeah.
Wow. And you were housed at this time?
Yeah. And the problem being was my case is in Snohomish County, and there's a very dangerous person up in Snohomish County, and I had to stop seeing my daughter because he was following me there. There was an assault, and so he was tracking me and showing up. I was having visits with my daughter, and they wouldn't move my case down here, and they just said that I was just trying to, work, like, get one. Just, it was a ploy to transfer my case out here and to parent with her dad. That I was just being, devious. But it was just like, they weren't understanding. I was saying, he knows what my daughter looks like. He's shown up at our visits. Yeah. And they just were like, no, sorry, we can't transfer your case. So I had to stop seeing my daughter.
Yeah, so you're kind of in this storm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at what point do you become unhoused? What happens?
I've never been, I've never had that place, It's just, it's kind of tumultuous with not being on the lease and being with the father of my kids, or father of my daughter. And it just, a lot of the time, it's safer for me to be away, yes, he's hurting, I'm hurting too, but with the constant forgiving and then not forgiving, and the back and forth, and I'm not innocent either, but
so it's a tumultuous relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We've all hate to say it, we've all been in those.
Yeah, but I can tell you right now that with my ex, with the one that I had the 2 kids with,
that he passed away.
He was worse. Yes.
He passed away already.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But it's just like, society is very isolating. It's very unforgiving. When I came back here, Ballard has changed a lot in ways that it's very not welcoming, to the homeless population, to the drug addicts. And I understand it. I get it. I was here when during the heroin days downtown, and the heroin addicts didn't really come up here back then. But with the way that they're being pushed out of downtown, and they're coming to different cities and different places, and I get it. Ballard was a small town, very family oriented, very tight knit, and they had their community here, and to have the drug addicts, and then with all the security guards at all the stores, profiling, and it's just like the cost of food has skyrocketed. And for those, yes, the Ballard Food Bank has been a blessing. It's been great, but there's 3 days that it's not open, right. And when you don't have anything to eat, it's just nobody is willing to,
You gotta eat.
Yeah. And nobody wants to help.
Yeah.
And we have these big corporations, Safeway, QFC, from Kroger, that are making billions of dollars, and yet you can get in the most trouble for shoplifting something to eat for the day.
Yeah, people should not have to steal food.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a complex crisis for sure. Well, just so I understand, so you are unhoused, or you have a place, but you don't want to go back, or what?
It's more of I just don't want to go back.
Gotcha. Because of the relationships is
yeah. I mean, it's really good, and then there's it's like there's like a disconnect, and then it gets really good, disconnect, and it's just sometimes it's just so up and down that I just need time to myself, you know?
Yeah, it's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're like, I need to get off the roller coaster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you take time to yourself, like, are you sleeping outside?
Sometimes I'll stay with friends, you know. I just kind of, wherever the wind takes me is where I end up, you know.
Gotcha.
But in the times that I've been out, I've met some really kind people. I've also have met some really dark people, you know. But it just right now, things are very intense. Not just at home, but like in society, in the city, all together, you know? Like with...
Intense is a good word.
Yeah. People are very high strung, you know?
On edge a little bit.
And I don't know what happened in the time that when I was up in Snohomish County. I don't know what happened to Ballard, but it's not the same community that it was when I was growing up.
It feels different to you, right?
Yeah, it feels very like, what's the word I'm looking for? It feels very isolating, you know, like no one, or careless, not careless, heartless, I should say. There's been times where, you know, I've been out walking by myself, hungry, and I don't want to steal, and, you know, I'm crying, and nobody but even bat an eye, you know, and it's just like the community is very quick to turn their head and look the other direction, you know, look the other way, and if I don't see you, you don't exist, you know.
Yeah, and there's a harsh reality of we live in an incredibly rich city. There's a lot of unhoused and homeless people, and it's like when people, I think, kind of ignore it, like out of sight, out of mind somehow, and they don't have to face that reality of like.
That's what that's what the wealthy people do.
Yeah.
Bellevue, when I grew up in Bellevue, same thing.
Gotcha.
Sweep it on the rug. If I don't see it, the problem's not there.
Yeah.
You know, and like people expect that from Bellevue. People don't. They didn't really expect that from Ballard. You know, just because Fremont is, you know, it's very like the way it was. It's very eccentric. You know, very freestyle, free flowing. Just
very Seattle.
We love people.
Yeah,
you know, we love people. We love the earth. We love, you know, being eco conscious. And then all of a sudden, it was like the whole attitude changed. You know.
Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, you know, there are obviously some people who do care.
Yeah.
Ballard Food Bank's amazing.
Yeah.
I work up at Aurora Commons. Incredible folks up there.
Yeah.
But it's like, there's just also the city, the politics, like upstream.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa, man, like what's happening here?
I know. It's.
But and again, it's really complex. Like, what do we do here?
And what really I don't understand is being a survivor of sexual assault, how we have somebody that is our president that is a felon and who has been known to do that to people.
Yeah, that's a whole another
a can of worms.
Yeah, just oh man.
In Chinatown.
That's overwhelming.
You know? Yeah, and for some reason, a lot of sex offenders have ended up in Chinatown.
Interesting.
I don't know why. Yeah. They just kind of been pushed, or they've just gone up there. But like I said, the Asian culture, even if a woman is raped and it's out of wedlock, she won't say anything because she doesn't want to bring dishonor to her family.
Oh, gotcha.
So a lot of Asians they'll just kind of let it go and just be like, okay, I understand.
Not say anything.
Yeah, because they don't want to bring dishonor, you know. But I have there's a like a body shop, you know, car shop, and the owner, big heart, very kind man. People have been stealing from him. I mean, we're talking upwards to $30,000 in electric scooters, you know.
Oh, wow.
And kind man, very big heart, loves his workers, and loves what he does, and helps people out when they're in need, and people are stealing from him, and that kind of injustice has been on the uprise. I mean, it's always been kind of janky out here since the heroin days, in the 2010s, but it has gone up a notch with the fentanyl.
I think, I mean, you kind of have to ask, why do people steal?
Yeah.
And for all kinds of different reasons, and a lot of, unfortunately, is for some people to support
sustain
their habit and stuff like that.
Right. I mean, it's really hard to make money when you don't have anything to, it's a hustle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really hard when a lot of, like the DoorDashes and like the side hustles, they're very picky. You know what I mean? You have to hit a certain criteria in order to do it, or you have to have a car, or you have to have a phone, or you know what I mean? And so like making money that way is not as accessible to the drug community that like it is to
it's a lot of people are stuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
AJ, before we wrap up, a question I like to ask is there anything that you'd want the people of Seattle to know?
New times are coming. New life is coming. That there is hope. Things will get lighter. I know things have gotten dark in the last, since spring. Substantially darker. And I know everybody has noticed. But a new light, a new hope, things will get better and will get lighter. And for those who have been oppressed, and there will be a new beginning. And it's going to be beautiful.
I hope so. You talk to your kids?
With my mom, it's a little difficult because she's very controlling. But with my youngest, I missed a court date, and so they terminated my rights, and so I have to talk to my attorney, and I don't trust my attorney. So I just want to see her, but I know that there's people are anxious, people are scared.
Because your three older kids are pretty teenagers.
Two older, yeah. So my eldest, she is 14, and then my son is 9.
Okay.
And then I have a 3-year-old. But I know, like I said, people are very anxious, very scared, very not certain. But things will get better.
I see this incredibly smart woman who's, you've been to rehab, the language, like you're educated in that, like how, or is there this desire to fight your way out of this, and what does that look like for you, AJ?
As of right now, I'm gonna be honest, not really, it's kind of like I've accepted it, I've accepted that I'm chemically dependent, you know what I mean? And like to get clean, it's really hard going through with a withdrawal, and I'd rather just accept, embrace it, because if I'm not happy with who I am, wherever I'm at, whatever I'm doing, clean, using, and whatnot, then I'm not going to be happy. My soul will not be content.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I mean, earlier you said you started coping. I mean, you're coping with this trauma and pain and shame, all that stuff. It's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
The way I see it, it's like we all cope.
Yeah.
Drugs.
We all have vices,
Yeah, illegal drugs is a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
To stop that and start working on yourself and start to feel comfortable in your own skin. It takes a lot of work.
It does.
Therapy, group, whatever. It's just like, it's a lot.
It is. It's a lot of work. Even though I went to a 6-month inpatient program, the problem with that is that it's not, the housing situation is not what it should be for those who are going to treatment.
Yeah, well, they talk about wraparound.
Right.
You know, it's like housing is not enough.
No,
like
it's not.
You need support systems all the way around.
Yeah. And insurance cut me off 2 months early, so it was unexpected. Because insurance goes based on your progress, and that program in Isabella House in Spokane is set up very well for those who have infants and not toddlers. And so it was very hard for me to progress in that program. And so insurance was like, you're not progressing. Obviously, it's not working for you, so we're going to cut you off. Yeah.
Well, I hope that you find your way, and you will.
Yes.
And I appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
Are you open for a hug?
Yes.
Yeah, take care of yourself. Hang in there.
Thank you.
Yeah.